connect around a table and actually discuss ideas and interact with each other. You can sit down on meeting room tables and actually have conversations. We're exploring a lot.
David Weir-McCall is the Architect Industry Marketing Manager of Epic Games and has the job to help architects transform their BIM and CAD data into amazing virtual reality experiences. He works with firms like Zaha, Hadid Architects and Foster & Partners to deliver visions of their projects. So David, are architects buying the idea of using your software?
Yes, I think that the industry has made major leaps forward in the last few years. They've always been very interested in ways that technology can help improve their workflows or help them make decisions faster. And I think by the very nature of what gaming engines really provide and have done for the last couple of decades, has always been a really big interest to the industry. If we look at the process of design, from constructing a building or even designing a building with colleagues with different disciplines or multiple teams in the same place, through to the getting client approval and actually sharing it with stakeholders, all the way to the end where the design of a building is as much about experience as it is the actual physical bricks and mortar of it. So those elements of it need a medium and a way to represent itself in a way that is compelling and collaborative. And the games industry has been doing this for decades, both in bringing people together in a 3D immersive space, narrating a story and making people actually feel that they belong in the space itself. So I think there is definitely an uphaul and an interest due to the very nature of how architecture works.
Yes, well, I think it's interesting because the peace dividend created a whole lot of investment into 3D that was used for war games really in the past, and we're now taking this from something more peaceful. So, what do you think it's actually done to practices and practices that you've been helping?
Yeah, I think it's definitely helped more collaboration, and it's helped them be able to expand the ways that they would traditionally tell stories. We look at the traditional mediums that architects have worked with in the past, which has been hand drawings, sketches, still images, occasionally some form of video animation, and it's opened up a whole repertoire of potential solutions that they could utilize and use to help share those ideas beyond that. An image doesn't tell the full story, or a hand sketch can only do so much, but I think whenever you have the ability to walk around a space, to experience it, to swap out furniture, to update the design in real time, it's really helping those discussions come to life in the moment rather than as an afterthought, or disastrously could be even further down the line in the construction phase where you realize, doesn't look the way I thought it looked. So I think it's really opening that door and opening that collaboration between both architecture internal teams and even the client side as well.
And is this giving us an insight into what the metaverse is going to be like?
It's a very interesting topic. It's definitely the top trend word of the year. I think that all digital experiences or 3D experiences are experiments and sort of early prototypes of what a future metaverse could look like. We at Epic are very focused in providing tool sets and an ecosystem around helping creators create that 3D content for the advent of a future metaverse. And I think there's lots of exploration that is being done and is still being done at the moment. Everything from how you bring people together in large audiences and groups, or what that virtual interaction can be like in terms of how you get as an engaging a conversation that we're having now, but in a digital space. But I think there's a lot of room there for expansion and growth, because I think at the end of the day, we don't yet know what that metaverse is. We don't yet know what it looks like. What we know is that we want to provide a clear route for people to explore this space and build their own digital experiences, which could craft into future parts of the metaverse.
Now, NFTs have entered the world of architecture. I know you're a bit skeptical, but what do you think that's going to do to the practice of architecture in the future, do you think?
Skepticals, maybe. I think the technology is very early on. There's lots of these emerging technologies within the industry, and I think that we look at addressing that the same way that we've looked at addressing a lot of the other emerging technologies within the industry through time. which just has to be done maybe more focused on what is the problem which this new emerging technology resolves, or what problem does this new technology offer the industry that previously they haven't been able to resolve. And you know, although it is very volatile in its nature, there is elements of it which I think is important as an industry that we look to address, and something we're very focused on in Epic is around the ownership and governance of your designs and assets in a digital world. In the same way that we do in the physical world, where your drawings get stamped and there's an official, you're not allowed to take these designs and build them elsewhere. I think it's important that as we start to transition into a digital space, there's a similar setup to protect people's IP and content, and it is back to a kind of element of ownership. So yes, I think that we're very early in this conversation, but there is a big opportunity here in architecture to explore how that might operate in the future.
Will it provide us with a better version of Zoom, do you think?
Yes and no. I think that there are things which will never be replaced in a physical world. The example, if people have seen it, is there's this movie called Ready Player One, which kind of showcases this digital world that people escape the physical world to go and live in this virtual one. And I think it's a very dystopian approach to the future 3D metaverse or whatever it is, because we don't want to use it as an escape or use it as a way to not interact and be together or to be in physical buildings. I think it's an addition or an add-on and a way that these two spaces can actually work together. You know, I think there's value in face-to-face conversations. There's values in walking into a real space and experiencing it with your own eyes. And there's other things that digital spaces can bring to the equation. You know, a digital space can offer the same aesthetic, but fill it with people from across the globe. It allows me to be in the digital space, but actually modify and customize it to my liking. Whereas in a space like where we're in today, it's customized for everyone. So there's a personalization approach which maybe you can take in a digital building, which you wouldn't be able to in a physical building. But at the same time, there's huge value in the physical one as well.
But the amazing way in which we accepted Zoom communications when COVID hit us suggests that there may be a time when we will actually accept substitutes virtually.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the Zoom example is a really good one because it showed how we were all able to adapt very quickly. I think that there's some, again, things that the 3D environment will offer people in this space where it'll go beyond what we're doing in Zoom currently. And there's an analogy I always love with Zoom that pertains back to the, having this 3D immersive world that you can walk around and the importance of having a representation in that 3D world, where there was a while throughout the Zoom sort of cycle where people were changing books on their bookshelves. They were moving their camera and desk because they wanted a more reflective background of who they were. So there was an element of curation and an element of customization to make you feel comfortable as you deliver or speak to people. And that goes way beyond background. That goes way into people's sort of inner sort of confidence or inner self, where whenever I'm in a digital space, I would like my digital representation to be customizable. I would like to feel like I belong in this space, and that's as important as the physical space that you're in. So I think once we really start tapping on and getting into that side of it, and people start to feel more comfortable as themselves in this digital space, we're going to see that sort of chasm between where we are now and where we need to get to just becoming a lot closer and a lot easier to sort of hop over. And we can see examples of it right now. We can see examples in sort of early gaming technology and with the generation behind us where, we've got Fortnite, we've got Roblox, we've got Minecraft, where all of these different platforms offer users a way to not only interact from anywhere in the world, but also customize themselves and communicate with people in a way that is completely new age. There's no video call in Fortnite or Minecraft. You are audio only, you have an avatar, you talk, but you go off on adventures together. And that's a really interesting sort of place where the future could take us.
What do you think about the government's policies to get us doing more planning digitally? Because I think going as fast as you would like on that.
you know, whenever you're trying to appeal to a new generation who are going to be living in these spaces or living in these communities, there needs to be an importance and a focus on appealing to them as much as there is appealing to the people of the current generation. And whenever you do so in very sort of archaic measures or very traditional measures, you alienate the generation behind us, and you alienate the generation who maybe are more immersed in these 3D experiences and understand the world in a different context. So there is an importance and maybe a more of an urgency to update current measures to reflect the needs of this new generation, make sure that they have a voice in the way that our cities and our towns are being designed, because if not, we're designing it for a generation who never really had a voice in the conversation to begin with. And the digital platform offers this amazing opportunity for that. You know, real time offers us a great opportunity for that in the way that we see, you know, or we talked about at the beginning, where, you know, I can modify and make changes in real time. I don't need to write it on a form and send it away and then wait 2 weeks for someone to send me a revision back. I can go, well, actually, I like this formation in this shape, or this is obstructing my view. I can no longer see my local park. I can no longer see this building. That's a problem for me. So we can make more informed real-time decisions in these digital worlds that before we really wouldn't have that insight to. And I think that's a really big opportunity. And I think that we just need to maybe figure out a way to move more hastily in that direction.
But that does totally change the design process, doesn't it?
Completely. And this is part of the hesitancy to adopt technology, and this is part of, again, the how we look at and encompassing new technologies in the industry is sometimes that involves a shake-up of the things that we know very well and know very traditionally. And to completely break the system and rebuild it, it obviously takes time and research, and we want to make sure we do it right, but there's a reward behind that as well. And you know, I think these small experiments that we could play, or these small sort of test cases that we see companies doing, are great insights into where, you know, we could potentially look to go in the future. But yes, absolutely, it will require a certain element of changing the way that we work and interact with people.
When you knock on the door of an architectural practice and go and tell them what you can do for them, what do you say?
It doesn't. We don't typically work in that fashion where, you know, we go and pitch the idea. You know, the tools. Our tools are open source, or sorry, not open source. They're publicly available and they're free, so people can download them and play around with them. So there's no licensing behind them. But really, the offering is to the industry is around this idea of real-time visualization and collaboration. So if you want to take your BIM or CAD models and visually do something with them or communicate an idea with someone, these are the tools which can help you get there. And you can do so in a sort of nature that includes everyone, in a way that is customized to you. So it's not the same solution for everyone. It's a completely open toolbox, so the solution can be anything to anyone. And I think that's what's really appealing to the architects whenever we have conversations, is they have their own vision of how they would execute an idea, execute a design, execute a new way to communicate with someone. And what I also think is really amazing of what I see from our customers is that they're all doing it differently, and they're all exploring very different areas, and it's great to see, and it kind of opens up the doors to what the future could look like as well.
Well, it sounds like a very exciting future, David. Thank you very much indeed.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me.